How would you stave off the existential boredom of having been alive for hundreds of years?
I'd watch movies.
You're still listening. This is our final transmission.
We're here, Jamie. I'm here. It's me, Sam Russo. It's you, Jamie Carruthers. It's final transmission once a week. On the button, we talk about a horror movie until the end of time. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Sam. How are you doing?
I'm doing fucking fantastically well. And I believe you when you say you're doing well as well, which is good.
Well, that's good. It means that my acting chops have come along. It's 1987, Sam. What are you up to?
Being two. Rolling around, making noises, grabbing things I shouldn't be grabbing. Exactly the same as I'm doing now. What about you?
I was also two. I didn't grab a single thing. I
You didn't
was
have thumbs.
watching horror movies. I wasn't, but maybe I was.
You probably were. If you were watching horror movies, you'd probably be watching 1987's Near Dark.
Yeah, directed by Catherine Bigelow with an insane cast.
Yeah, it's a bananas cast. It's chops behind the fucking. What do you say about a director? Chops in the chair.
Yeah.
Bigelow. Is this not her first movie? Is it?
No, this is maybe her third movie.
Now then, did she peak with The Hurt Locker, or has there been more great stuff since? A lot of people like Zero Dark 30.
I think Zero Dark 30, The Hurt Locker, they're fine. They're not Jamie movies.
No,
I think,
but this fucking is.
yeah, I think she peaked maybe at Point Break.
Wait, did she direct Point Break?
Yeah.
Holy shit. What a bizarre woman. This is great. I love it. Near Dark, Point Break, Hurt Locker. If you know him, you know her. It's Catherine Bigelow.
Yeah, the bigs.
Big Meist. She's in the house, really swinging her dick around on this movie. Holy crap.
Yeah, we've got
Good cast.
We've got a big chunk of the Aliens cast.
Yeah, and some, am I right in thinking some references to the movie Alien, maybe?
Well, I mean, maybe.
Well, maybe we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
We got Bill Paxton. We got Lance Henriksen.
Yeah, and
We got, who else is in Alien?
Jeanette Goldstein.
Jeanette Goldstein doing some great shit in this.
Yeah, Vasquez.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've also got, outside of the Aliens cast, you've also got Tim Thomerson, you've got Adrian Pasdar, and you've got Jenny Wright, and that's pretty much everyone.
It's pretty damn strong.
Yeah. Adrian Pasdar, for me, he's in this, he's not in anything else, and then he was in Heroes, and that's basically my relationship with Adrian Pasdar. Presumably he was in other stuff, but...
I liked him. He's in Carlito's Way.
Yeah.
I don't know him in much else. Top Gun.
He's got a real jar head situation going on.
He's got serious lip. Holy crap, he's got a coat hanger for a top lip. The guy is hot. He's a hot toddy. He's a tall drink of hot jizz. I like him.
A tall drink of hot jizz.
That may or may not be popular parlance. I like him in this a lot. Anyway, let's not fucking get too far ahead of ourselves. What the hell is Near Dark, Jamie? What is it when it's sitting around doing nothing?
So, to summarize Near Dark, or to give you the sort of top line of what Near Dark is, it is what, a neo-Western vampire movie? Is that what we're saying?
You could, yeah, I guess. I'm not sure about neo-Western. I don't really care if it's neo-Western, but it's definitely set in the American West-ish.
Yeah, and it has loads of classic Western set pieces.
Yeah, true, yeah. There's a lot of, well, we'll talk about it later. There's a lot of stuff being done with the camera that feels and smells like Westerns.
Yeah. I think we're playing in a little bit of a Western sandbox, even if we're not strictly doing Western stuff.
Definitely. We have Western intentions.
Yeah. Western Intentions, is that the name of your next record?
It's my new emo project. Midwestern Intentions.
That's good. That's gold. Don't be giving that out on the podcast.
I got plenty if you want to hear a couple.
Go on.
We're working with...
Was it you that was trying to get a barbershop quartet off the ground called the Assless Chaps.
I've been involved in the assless chaps. I've got Intensity in Tent City, which I think is pretty good. Dr. Worm, I like that.
Yeah, that's They Might
Fucked
Be
Up
Giants
Blind
song.
Kids. Yep, exactly. Hong Kok Fooey. That's probably not going to happen.
No, is it hung?
Clam Sauce.
Is it hung cock fooey?
No, Hong.
Well,
Hong Kok Fooey.
It should be hung, surely.
I can't get away with Hong Kok Fooey. Are you kidding me? Got an album title here that's a direct reference to Fast Times at Ridgemont High. The lady will have the linguine with white clam sauce.
I mean, that's a reference.
What's wrong with me?
That's a reference, but it's also, it's not laboured, but it feels laboured.
Feels very late. I mean, it is laboured. My personal favourite, I know we've mentioned it on the pod before, if you're a new listener, Born on the 4th of Toulouse. Best working title I have so far.
Yeah. But yeah.
That and Midwestern Handjobs, or whatever we just said.
Yeah, American Lawyers. Or was that? I think it was a Menzinger's. Was it? Or was it Black Lawyers? Maybe it was Black Lawyers.
Black Lawyers. Good band name.
Yeah.
What the fuck? When did you first see this movie? And how and why?
I was probably in my teens. Yeah, I think my first Catherine Bigelow movie was probably Point Break. But I have a very strong and intense relationship with her cyberpunk New Year's Eve thriller, Strange Days, which I had on VHS when I was a kid and watched the shit out of.
Safe to say you're a big fan now, or was that a fleeting romance?
No, yes, I still have that VHS. I
nice.
love that movie very, very much.
I love Vincent D'Onofrio. Holy cow.
Vincent D'Onofrio can do so little wrong in my eyes. He's not in Near Dark, underrated. But he's great. Him in Mystic Pizza.
Yeah.
What an absolute stud.
Yeah, he's amazing.
He basically,
like you say,
typified.
Man can do nothing wrong.
Yeah, basically typified the sort of working schlub punk aesthetic. I love it.
Yeah, I don't know how the guy doesn't just work constantly. Like, I'd expect to see him in so much, but anyway, that's a tale for another time. Maybe we'll do a D'Onofrio horror movie if there is one at some point.
There's got to be a D'Onofrio spookfest.
If you're aware of any D'Onofrio spookfests, please contact us at FT Horror Show. We'd be happy to review your submissions.
Yeah. The cast in this, right, is so stellar. And like, obviously we know that Bill Paxton has chops.
Yeah.
But seeing him next to Jeanette Goldstein and Lance Henriksen, it's so weird him being so fucking cool.
Yeah, I mean, 87. He's done some of the best stuff in his career by then.
Yeah,
he's in Terminator, he's in Commando, he's in Aliens, he's fucking kicking ass on Miami Vice. He's done shed loads by that point. He's even in Stripes, dude. Like, but he's done shitloads, and he's covering comedy. He's doing action. He's doing sci-fi. He's doing westerns. He's doing fucking everything. So, how does he end up in this movie? Do you think?
Well, Catherine Bigelow was in a long-term relationship with James Cameron,
which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think like stylistically, and we'll get into this. They have a very similar approach to filmmaking, especially before James Cameron disappeared entirely up his own arse, entirely up his own avatar. I think like the stuff that he was doing in the 80s, the Terminators and whatnot, the Aliens. I don't know if she apes that style or if they just have a very similar sensibility, and that's why they worked quite well as a couple for 3 years or whatever. But yeah, I think her visual style is quite similar. So anyway, you asked me when I saw this. I saw it when I was a teenager, off the back of my hot and heavy relationship with Strange Days. Nice. And I think maybe I didn't love it as much as I could, should, or would on that first watch, because it does take a little bit of time to get going, which we might talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And it does share quite a lot of DNA with another vampire romance, kids from the bad side of town kind of movie that I loved an awful lot more, which is obviously Lost Boys.
Right, okay. Yeah.
and I saw Lost Boys earlier, and I think because they're quite, I don't think they're similar, but I think that they occupy a very small genre of things. Obviously,
Well, they came out in the same year as well, so there's definitely they're standing side by side.
yeah. So tell me, Sam, you hadn't seen this before at all, is that right?
First of all, Catherine Bigelow, James Cameron. James Cameron's punching. Yes, this is the first time I've seen this movie. Saw it on Wednesday, and yeah, first even encounter. I'd never even seen the cover, never even heard of it. Nowhere near my radar.
Excellent.
What a fucking surprise.
So I'm sort of hoping now for a Wolfen type revelation in your life, but I guess we'll wait and see on that. But
Well, more than anything, I'm surprised there was a Troy Evans movie that I hadn't seen. I feel like I've seen 4,000 Troy Evans movies, and even though he's barely in this, it just feels like I should have seen it.
yeah, I love him. Is he Crate or is he Barrel in Bosch? I don't remember, but he's one of
Yeah, he's one of the two.
he's one of those guys.
Yeah,
One of them is
I
Mac's
love,
dad, right? The other one is Mac's dad.
yeah. His limited appearance as the principal in Twin Peaks is probably my first encounter with Troy Evans, and I just got fucking obsessed just from that.
Yeah,
That flat top, unstoppable.
it is.
But yeah, first time seeing it. Never even fucking heard of it. As soon as I looked at it, I had a quick glance. I thought I should be recognizing this, but also didn't even recognize Bill Paxton on the cover because he looks nothing like himself. So I had no idea he was going to be in it. When I turned it on, I was going in completely sightless, and yeah, rewarded with a good cast.
Okay, shall I drop a synopsis and then we'll go to break and then we'll get deep into the near dark.
Very nice. Yes, please.
Okay, so here's a synopsis. Tell me if you think that I'm talking about Lost Boys. So a young man meets a girl who he likes. He sort of pursues her, but it turns out that she is involved in a gang of vampires, and he gets turned and becomes a vampire, and then joins in this reckless gang of vampire baddies as they tear ass and cause trouble in deepest America, not California. That's the thing that makes it different to Lost Boys, is that we're not in California.
Are we in Oklahoma?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
We're firmly in Red City Radio territory.
I have only been to Oklahoma once, and I got real drunk with Garrett Dale from Red City Radio.
Yeah.
So actually, that's not true. I've been there twice.
Did you get drunk with Garrett both times?
No. The first time I went, I was on a road trip, and a woman in a Walmart. Me and Claire were looking through a rack of compact discs to put in the car, and she came over to us and she said, "Y'all like Taylor Swift?" Oopsie, and farted. It was great.
She said oopsie and then fired.
If memory serves, it was the other way around.
Yeah, fair enough.
So yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say about Oklahoma that I can say on the podcast.
The first time I met Garrett, he came to my house. I hadn't been at the show.
Right.
And for some reason, only Garrett came to the house. And the rest of the band were elsewhere. God knows what they were doing. But I was watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Oh.
And obviously that's set in Oklahoma, shot in Oklahoma. So we were instantly in love, I think.
Wouldn't it be nice if we shared a similar bond over that piece of crap?
You fucking hate Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and it's not right.
Barely got through it, dude.
Not right.
Barely even finished it. I finished it for you. When I was at like the 30-minute mark, I thought, this has been going on for years. And I did a cheeky pause and realized I was in for another hour of hell.
I think what happened with Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is that you watched it too close to having seen the original. You hadn't let the lore and the stuff sort of permeate into your brain and then become like, oh, I wonder what would happen if they went outside of Texas or they went to a chili cook-off or whatever. Like,
exactly. I wonder what happened if they took everything good about the first movie and flushed it down the fucking toilet and did something completely bullshit.
Anyway,
I wasn't wondering that.
We're not talking about Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. We're going to a break. So let's do that.
Okay, let's all just calm down, all right? Let's have a break.
Whoa, shit. I guess that's why they call it Phantom Power.
Great break. Some of our best breaking yet.
Yeah. Sam, it's been a couple of days since you were at the Punk Rock Museum. How was it?
It was fine.
Okay, good. Did you do any scheming, any dreaming while you were there?
I dreamt, I skemped, and I live to tell the tale. If you want to find out what it's like to dream and scheme, you should buy Red Scare's 20-year anniversary compilation right now on redscare.net, or just stream it wherever you stream music.
Absolutely. That's the thing you should
It's
do.
good.
It's a great compilation. Some of my all-time favorite records are Red Scare records.
Oh. Do you like the Cobra Skulls song on the new comp?
I
know you don't like Cobra Skulls, but I'm just asking if you like that song.
thought that I didn't like Cobra Skulls, right?
Oh.
And the song on the comp, to me, sounds like Michael Graves' era Misfits.
Okay.
Which, from a lot of people's mouths, would be the worst insult you could give to a piece of music.
But on this podcast...
Yeah, but from this gob, that is some of the highest praise. What's your guy from Cobra Skulls called?
Devon.
Devon sounds like Michael Graves and is probably just as racist. So
For a minute there, I thought you were holding back from saying you didn't like Cobra Skulls because you didn't want to offend anyone, and then you just called him a racist.
I don't think you're a racist, Devon, who definitely isn't listening to this. But
He runs a lovely orchard.
does he?
Yeah, and oh wow, were his drinks at the Punk Rock Museum fantastic. Spoilers, at the time of recording, I haven't yet been to the Punk Rock Museum, so I have no idea what it was like. I'm not an authority because I can't time travel.
What was it like being in that toilet cubicle with Fat Mike and Keith Morris?
I left sore, very sore.
Yeah. Redscare.net.
That's the one.
That's all you need to know. So, Sam, tell me your initial thoughts about Near Dark.
Do you know what? I thought Near Dark was fine.
Okay.
I loved the really slow, boring start that everyone seems to criticize. It turns out from my little bit of internet research, and from the vampire stuff onwards, I thought it was fine. I fucking hate Lost Boys. I'm gonna go out there and ruin my reputation for the rest of my life. But there was stuff in this that was grittier and cooler and more earthy and more what I would consider to be realistic vampire stuff in a modern setting than I see in Lost Boys maybe. So we'll get into more detail about it, but I thought it was a pretty strong swing at combining exactly what you just said, a lot of Western tropes with a kind of exciting, sparky, slightly downbeat, weirdly off-center a monster movie, I guess. I'm not a big fan of vampires in modern settings, generally speaking. So when I realized this was a vampire movie, I tried hard not to be put off, and I wasn't. I gave it. I mean, with a cast like this, how can you not give it fucking shit loads of room?
Yeah.
So
of course.
there was just a few things I didn't absolutely fall over myself loving in this movie, but overall, I was really entertained from start to finish. I thought it was shot magnificently. Go out there and say that from the very beginning.
It's weird because, like, if I was going to be like, this is what I want my neo-Western horror movie to look like, I would want it to look much more like, say, a John Hillcoat movie.
Right.
But, like, you can't fault anything with this, really. It looks like a movie from 1987 directed by someone who is very close to James Cameron.
Definitely. And what it felt like to me, and again, this is just some of the highest praise I think you can give a movie, it felt like Badlands in a lot of ways. It had that, it was totally unafraid of doing that. This is a still vista shot.
Yeah.
Which I think takes a lot of talent and is really brave in 87, especially. It had that kind of slightly grainy, gritty look and feel to it as well. And there were chunks of this where nobody minded nothing happening because it just looks so pretty.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I think something that really contributed to that as well, not just the visuals. I'm pretty new to Tangerine Dream scoring movies, having recently watched Thief in a state of slight inebriation, and I was shocked. The next film I watched was a Tangerine Dream movie. So, what do you think of the score? Because I think it's fucking brilliant.
No, it's shit. No, I also think it's brilliant. Obviously, it's great. It's one of the.
Yeah.
I think it's one of my favorite horror scores that isn't by an Italian prog band. So,
Naming no names.
but like, just to go back to you talking about Thief, you texted me saying, "Is it okay that I've got higher than I've ever got in my life, and now I'm going to watch Thief?"
Accidentally, I should add. Allegedly, I should add. That was a hard movie to follow. Let me tell you that. Wow, did I not know what was going on?
Yeah, I think maybe Thief is good enough that you should go back and give it your soberest of attentions.
I decided that about 18 minutes in. I was like, I need to watch this again. I got no idea what's happening. But it was so fucking gorgeous.
Yeah,
Talk about
amazing.
tickle my boxes in terms of visuals.
So it tickled
Wow.
your boxes.
Tickled my box. And I don't even love James Caan. Again, like I'm not a Caan head. But wow, it just looked gorgeous. And this felt a little bit like that, maybe just the Tangerine Dream connective tissue.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot to love in the visuals of this movie for sure.
I think like the way that we see like Lance Henriksen, the way that he's shot in this is so incredible. He
It's
always
teasy.
It always looks so intense, and his I don't know if he's a skinny dude generally, or like a what's the word, like a lithe dude anyway. But like
It's lean.
yeah, but like he looks. I don't know if he lost weight for this because he looks so gaunt and like scarred up and brutal. It's great. And then like we got Bill Paxton.
Yeah.
And like we say, he's hot off Aliens in this, and he's a very specific character in Aliens. A little fucking weenie. Little weenie Marini.
Weenie Marini. Yes. I have the tricky thing for me is that I love Paxton.
Yeah.
But I hate these characters. Do you know what I mean? The over the top sleazy leather guy, it felt a bit Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, to be honest. Just the like screaming, wailing, in your face chaos guy that's just all over the top. It just feels a bit much for me sometimes. But you know, see, I love him in like Simple Plan, stuff like that, where he gets to dial it back a little bit, and I prefer my evil a little bit more stoic and maybe a bit more explosive at points. And he's
Henriksen.
just like, yeah, a lot more Henriksen. But he's just in your face the entire time, batshit crazy. And I enjoy him from a gore and chaos perspective. But I found the character a little bit hard to get on with. What about you? I'm guessing this absolutely fucking honks your pipes.
Yeah, I think he's great in this. I think like he is a wonderful counterpoint to like the measured evil of Lance Henriksen.
Yeah.
And like you know that Lance Henriksen can go off at any moment, but like he doesn't go off at every moment. I have a 2-part question for you, Sam.
Go on.
1, who is the modern Bill Paxton? And 2, why is it Walton Goggins?
Maybe part of Bill Paxton's soul was sucked out of his butthole when they put out Twisters, and it went into Walton Goggins and just fully embodied him.
I mean, I don't know how you feel about Walton Goggins, but I love him.
Yeah, he's a bit of a take or leave for me. He's a normie's Scoot McNairy.
He is so much weirder than Scoot McNairy.
Yeah, he does some weird shit, to be fair. I don't know why I said that. Yeah, he's good. I like him. I'm not familiar enough with much of his like earlier stuff, but I like him. I think Bill Paxton is unique because I don't think like thespians would call him a great actor. Do you know what I mean? But he has, in everything he's in, he has this one moment or one big scene where he's just jaw dropping. Like it always happens. He will lull you into thinking that he's just a dumbass or that he's just a goof. And then there's some beautiful tender moment where, or an explosively violent moment or something that just feels incredibly real. So maybe he's not the most consistent. I don't know. but I just love him. I love everything he does. So I even in a role like this, what's your chop top? Like, fuck me, it feels a bit chop top, but in a way
Yeah.
that I am way more on board with.
It does feel a bit chopped up, but I think the difference between Bill Moseley and Bill Paxton is their surnames.
Yes.
Um, no, it's that they Bill Moseley, who I love and respect very much. Bill, if you're listening to this, be my pal. But he's not able to access the same emotional depth that I think Bill Paxton is. And even when Bill Paxton is operating on like a batshit level, he's found the character, and it's almost Nicolas Cage. You know how Nicolas Cage can find an insane character, and there's just something in there that grounds him, so you can still find something to relate to in that. And
I buy that totally.
Yeah, I think Bill Paxton just has that. It's weird because like some of the earlier scenes in this, I'm like, fuck, Bill Paxton is shit. Like he's being bad. But it turns out maybe he just hadn't quite found it yet, or he hadn't quite sort of dipped in. There's a moment when he's hitchhiking and he's dressed as Adrian Pasdar. Like he's dressed as Caleb's character, like the character Caleb, with his hair done in the same way, and he's wearing the same shirt. And he's got this big fucking goofy shit-eating grin on his face because he knows he's gonna get picked up by these hotties who he's definitely gonna destroy and eat. Like, and it's just like, yes, you figured out who Severin is in this moment. Like, all we've seen before that is him be angry that there's somebody else in the room.
Yeah, so a rough start, I think, and kind of a hard hump to get over.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, he is great in so many things. I think one of his career peak performances for me is in Nightcrawler. I know he's not in it a huge amount, but he just does so much with so little in that movie. And standing next to someone like Jake Gyllenhaal, I think, is like a perfect counterbalance to him.
Yeah. Especially when Jake Gyllenhaal's on like the top of his form in that as well. He's like, he's giving it everything that he's ever had.
Exactly. And this being more of like a gang / ensemble cast, it feels like Bill pinballs around a bit too much, and he doesn't have that central character to really react with or to kind of tether to a little bit. So he is pretty much pure chaos and, pretty hefty dose of malice, but good sense of humor as usual, like another great sort of humor horror character. There was just moments where I wasn't 100% with him. But that being said, I would watch Bill Paxton take a dump. I think he's amazing. And I love when the fair comes to town where I live, because there's an enormous, and I mean like the size of the side of a building, air sprayed Bill Paxton face on the side of the Twister ride. So I get to walk across, like for like, I don't know, half a mile. I can just see Bill Paxton's face all lit up as I walk into town. It's great.
So interestingly, I think Jeanette Goldstein's, like the difference in Jeanette Goldstein's performance is between, say, Vasquez and this. You would never not mistake Diamondback for a woman, for example.
Yes.
And that's fun, I think. She's not in loads in her career. She's in like a few things.
I mean, she's demonstrating some fucking amazing range, I think, at this point in her career. I know the late 80s is a tricky time in movies, I think, generally, in my experience. Like, this feels like an early 80s movie to me, by the way, for the record. But there's something about a lot of these actors of this sort of age group finding themselves either typecast quite badly or busting out into all kinds of mainstream stardom. And she's obviously dancing around with a lot of different stuff and testing out a lot of range. Lance Henriksen is maybe older, I would imagine, but doing typecasty type stuff / character actor type stuff. Bill Paxton's set to rocket off to do some amazing other stuff. But they're in this alongside more veteran character actors like your Troy Evans, Tim Thomerson. So it's interesting where they are in their career at this point, and the fact that they're all doing this crazy vampire movie with a largely untested director. I think it's a pretty interesting little time capsule.
Yeah, I think so.
So Near Dark has a lot of interesting practical effects, Jamie. How do you feel about... I mean, listen, we have to address the elephant in the room. It is a vampire movie. It's about vamps. How do you feel about vampirism in Near Dark? Tangentially, how do you feel about the effects?
I like it. Obviously, we talked about Dracula recently, And I raised some of the issues that I have with vampire lore as a result of that. The getting two sticks and making it into a crucifix. That's bullshit, nonsense.
It's not your favorite, no.
And so I like that addressing the elephant in the room, who we've named Harvey in honor of our first episode. I like it. I like that we don't have pointy teeth. I like that we don't actually bite people very much. We cut them open with broken bottles or whatever we can find. I like that the only thing that carries from ongoing vampire lore is that they can't go out during the day.
Yeah.
And I love that it means that we get those amazing running in the daytime with a portable smoke machine under your jacket shots. And there's so much good mileage in that. And they use it just enough. They could go one step further and it'd be too much. But they use it
one step beyond, if you will.
Yeah, they find the line and they push it right to it, and it's never like, oh, okay, I'm bored of seeing someone running around with smoke billowing out of their shirt now. And that's
it's effective jeopardy as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because they do show you that this is deadly, but it's also navigable. So it's like, okay, we can be pinned down and backed into a room while it's broad daylight outside, but in theory we can still escape. We'll just be fucked.
Yeah, and the shootout, like the siege scene where the cops like descend on the room that they're in, is so cool. Like obviously bullets are they don't do nothing, but they're not massively effective against them. But the little hole that the bullet leaves behind is just like letting streaming sunlight through. That is so cool.
And it looks great.
Yeah.
It's really well shot, well played. The stakes feel pretty real in that scene in a way that they don't in other places in the movie. I think because we have a pretty artful build to that scene where they are fully cornered and they have, essentially fucked up and dropped their guard a little bit. So seeing them kind of cornered and punished in that way is actually really exciting and great tension at that point. I was 100% in that siege, and not just because we're siege hounds here at the Final Transmission podcast, but just because it was really well executed.
Yeah, I think it's great. It's probably my favorite set piece in the movie.
Yeah, I would agree. Same here. I mean, the bar scene we need to talk about, because the bar scene I felt, I want to say maybe pulled a punch slightly, because that had, opening scenes of Terminator written all over it in terms of the level of grit, plus the same fucking actor. What is happening?
Yeah.
But it was awesome to see Lance Henriksen slashing someone's throat with a bottle, filling a beer mug and drinking it. I hadn't seen something like that before. I thought that was really clever. But I feel like that bar scene had the opportunity to really suck all of the air out of the movie and make them pure evil, really exploitative meanness. And it just felt like it hung right on the edge of that, but it didn't quite go all the way. How did you feel about the bar scene?
Well, I agree. I think it's a really cool scene. I like that we don't lose all faith in these people, because we have to spend the rest of the movie with them.
True.
Even though that they are, basically at this point, ancient evil. They've been alive for hundreds of years or whatever. Lance Henriksen's character says he fought for the South, which
yeah, it's great.
Is that true, or is he just being funny? Like,
I love that he says it and then pisses himself laughing, saying "we lost." It's so funny. It's really good.
But like they also like make a reference to the fact that they started the Great Fire of Chicago.
Yes, that was so dumb, but I liked it. It was good. Remember when we started that fire in Chicago?
But yeah, so like
pretty ancient fuckers.
And that's funny. And like, is the idea meant to be that these two guys are really old and they just sort of travel around, and occasionally like guys or people that they've turned just die, and they sort of have to turn new people in order to have a little gang of people to ride around with, whatever. But like,
I think it's more that they're like survival of the fittest. They're the oldest and the toughest, and maybe they've had people come and go ever since, like softies like our main boy, whatever his fucking name is.
Well, I mean, is he soft or does he kill them all? That's the
good question.
I mean, the answer is he is soft, but he does kill them all.
Again, we'll get to their deaths, but I don't think he kills them all.
Well, they all die.
Yes, they do.
And if not by his hand, then by his design. Let's say that. But yeah, I think the bar scene is really cool, and I do think that it is important that we hold on to that tiny bit of humanity from them. But I do think there are some little janky bits and some bits that I think we could have wrung a little bit more out of. When I think Severin like launches a guy and he like lands against the pool table and he lands in a way that basically would have broke his spine.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have just see that pay off a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I mean. Just a little bit more. And normally I'm not asking for more, but I wanted more in that. Yeah.
I love the sun he's on. I love the blood all over his face. I mean, I mentioned this before in an episode where we were talking. I think it was probably a Nightbreed episode where I was talking about how like the coolest you could possibly look in a movie, and it is leather jacket, white t-shirt, covered in blood. Like, there's just something about that look that just is so cool to me.
You love that shit.
I do. And like chuck a pair of sunglasses on it as well. Reflect the neon signs in the lenses. Like we're
in a bar.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's like attention to detail like that, I think, is just so cool. And like
that's your Halloween costume, sorted. Just generic leather jacket blood guy.
Yeah, that's me. I am I'm Ateran because I'm one better or something.
You look like you didn't know what came after 7 for a minute there.
I was trying to figure out how to awkwardly
Make
shoehorn
a
it
great
in.
joke.
Yeah.
Who obviously.
Yeah.
So yeah, bar scene, a lot of set pieces that work really well in this. But for me, it's a lot of the early stuff and the connective tissue that I love. The opening is kind of unabashedly over the top romantic, which I really enjoy because I feel like vampire movies lend themselves well to that. You know, if you're that way inclined, you can milk mileage out of the vampire romance story. So I love that that's woven in with some quintessentially Midwestern / panhandly type scenery and behavior and costume, because you know I'm a sucker for all that stuff. And then the scenes where he's like desperately trying to get on the bus and just can't get the money, and then there's the cop, all of that stuff that kind of feels like the get to the next point part of the movie, I really enjoyed. And I thought that was some of the strongest character-led scene setting stuff. Were there any sort of standout scenes for you besides the obvious set pieces or moments that you thought were really special in this?
Well, I love the bus scene because, like, I don't think I would ever consider Adrian Pasdar to be like an actor that I think about. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
But like the way that he sort of embodies that lost, like he's meant to be like a bad kid. We set him up as like a bad kid at the beginning, and sure, he's 42 or whatever, but like in that scene, he's like a lost little kid.
Yeah.
And like, you know that it must hurt him like deep to have to ask a cop for help. Do you know what I mean? Like that. So like seeing that really, and then like how he is when he gets home and he's been cured, bullshit, but whatever. I'll get onto that in a bit. And he's like turned his whole life around, but the specter of his like big rebellion comes back and tries to fuck everything up. I like all of that stuff. I like him being a bad kid is just like part of an affectation or part of a rebellion, and really he's a sweet, nice boy.
Yeah, what's the bad kid shit? Maybe I glazed for that moment.
It's sort of set up in the opening couple of scenes where he's like drinking beers. He's like 16, right? 17.
Yeah.
He's like drinking beers and smoking cigarettes and having like shitty tough guy banter with his like
buddies.
Yeah, like the farmhands or whatever on the farm. And it's meant to be he's out till 5 a.m. and no one bats an eyelid. Like that's not normal good kid shit, right?
Dude, Farmhands is a great name for a fucking band. Yeah, okay. I read that as more like quintessential panhandle teenager behavior. But yeah, maybe you're right. He's being pitched as a bit more of a badass, so that when he actually becomes a complete pussycat, there's more of a transition.
It's a journey that he goes through.
Yeah,
where he learns to
fake badass to vampire to pussycat.
Yeah, it's ladette to lady, or those fucking makeover shows that used to be on in the early 2000s.
Yeah, how many people have compared Near Dark to ladette to lady? I'll tell you, just you.
Yeah. So I like that. I think in the romance stuff, I think that, or I get the impression at least, that she doesn't really like him.
Really?
So like when it's like, oh no, but I love him now, daddy. Like it feels sort of maybe rushed to me.
Interesting.
I feel like she doesn't really have an awful lot of, or she doesn't show an awful lot of interest in him
Right.
until she says, he's with us now or whatever. And
Yeah, it's tricky, right? Because she seems to be being portrayed. It's hard, right? Because you've got to put her forward as someone who is clearly weird in some way. Like there's something off about her, but we don't want to telegraph that she's a vampire, even though it's pretty obvious. So her behavior, I just saw as more of like a cinematic device to put you on edge without saying I'm a vampire. But yeah, you might be right. Maybe she's, maybe more manipulative than we necessarily realize. I find it borderline incomprehensible that she's such a fucking badass ancient vampire and she gets caught miles away from anywhere with the sun coming up in a pickup truck with a stranger.
Well, she's only been a vampire for 4 years, she says in the movie.
Oh, okay, I missed that.
Which
yeah,
also, again, bullshit that she's just cured at the end.
Yeah.
Surely being a vampire for a period of fair dues, we can maybe suspend our disbelief for long enough that Adrian Pasdar, who's been a vampire for 3 days or whatever, is now able to be cured by his dad giving him a blood transfusion.
Blood transfusion.
Like, maybe that would work if you removed all of his blood first.
Yeah.
Removed all of the vampire blood and replaced it with all of the dad blood. Like...
Yes, that's the cure for in the epic tomes of like vampire lore. That's the Appendix 9. Remove all the vampire blood, replace it with dad blood.
Well, so in Dracula, there's a blood transfusion, right? So it's
there's a bunch of them, yeah.
So like it's in vampire text. It's in.
But that's replacing lost blood. She's dying of blood loss. It's not like
true.
It's not a cure. But again, like why the fuck not in this movie? Take that. That's a tip of the hat to the OG Dracul. Why not take that and do something dumb with it? Because you can.
Yeah.
I also, yes, it's a huge fucking stretch of the imagination, but there is a tiny bit of me that's like, oh, that's not. No one's been dumb enough to do that yet. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Horse Doctor Daddy replaces all blood in vampire, finds miracle cure is a cool headline, and I'm glad they did it.
Yeah. I missed that issue of the Weekly World News, but
you've been snoozing on it. Where's your subscription?
So yeah, I can suspend my disbelief that far.
Yeah,
but a woman who's been a vampire for 4 years, that must do something to your body.
Yeah, it's deep in you.
Yeah. So horseshit. We haven't talked about the little kid vampire, who I think fucking rules.
I knew you would. I hoped we'd get through the whole thing without having to talk about him. Joshua John Miller. Age 13, filming this movie. Again, like, talk about flipping the conventions on their heads. He's 13, he looks 35. Normally,
yeah,
it's the other way around.
His performance, spoilers for Lost Boys, but like, there's also a little kid vampire in Lost Boys.
Yeah.
And he's awful. What's his name? Like Laddie or something. Fuck that kid.
Laddie.
But like, the kid that plays Homer, I mean, he says, "My name's Homer, Homer. Don't mispronounce it." How do you mispronounce Homer? Is he worried that people are going to call him Homo? Is that the thing?
Yeah, I think it's a homo thing. My God, what is happening? Listen, I'm not going to bitch about this movie. This kid fucking creeps me out, and not in a horror movie. I'm scared way. First of all, I need to, before you start sucking this kid's dick, I gotta tell you,
Sammy.
he is playing an ancient man in the body of a 13-year-old, right?
Yeah.
Turned at 13. Why is he trying so hard to fuck another 13-year-old? What is happening?
He wants someone who's stuck in the same suspended animation type body situation as he is.
So he'll bite her because she's height appropriate and then wait 20 years and then fuck her.
Yeah. Well, maybe not, but
so bad. It's the low point of the movie for me, the scene where he's trying to seduce a child.
I think he's so good at like pretending to be an adult. His like mannerisms are so on point for like what it would look like if a child was suddenly an adult.
It's Andy Milonakis.
Yeah, it's big, but without the body change.
There's peas on his head, but don't call him a pea head.
Yeah.
It's full on Milonakis.
And like him being 13 years old, acting like an adult who is trying to act like a child, and the way that he changes his voice to have like a little goofy, oh, let's see if there's anything on TV or whatever. Like
The TV scene is so, it's almost bone chilling because he's acting like such a cute kid.
Yeah.
When we know he's a psycho vampire. So that works quite well. It adds layers to the creepiness. And also, how many times in movies have you just gone, fuck off when kids start smoking cigs so badly? There should have been a guy in Hollywood who was a cigarette smoking coach for children. And it could have been me. That could have been my dream job. But that guy obviously never existed. However, got to give it up for Joshua John Miller's ability to smoke a cig at 13 quite convincingly.
Yeah. He only
Pretty
takes
good.
one drag and then he just sort of holds it for the rest of the scene. But like
Yeah.
he holds it in a way. There are thousands, like you say, thousands of smoking scenes where you're like, you've never held a cigarette before.
Until this scene.
Yeah.
And it looks too big and it looks dumb and you're doing it wrong. And that's fine because you're a kid. But pay attention, director. Force this kid to smoke better.
Yeah.
Treat him like a chimp in the 50s.
Yeah. I think he's got Edward Furlong energy as well.
My God. Only when you say it do I see it. Yeah, kind of.
Poor Edward
He's
Furlong.
like a miniature Jeff Goldblum with just problems, dude.
Yeah.
Kid's got problems.
Oh,
Didn't do much. Didn't have much of a career.
no.
Fucked right off.
I think he's related to Jason Patrick as well, who's in Lost Boys. Isn't that weird? I think he's just like his stepbrother, brother-in-law, something like
Oh,
that.
Jason Patrick. Okay. I thought you meant Richard Patrick, who's in fucking Terminator. My head was about to spin and fly off.
That's Robert Patrick.
Robert Patrick. Richard Pattinson.
Yeah. Robert Patrick's brother is in the band Filter.
Really?
Yeah.
The English band Filter.
Are they English?
Oh, are they not English?
I don't think.
Oh, I always thought they were English.
I thought they were
Weird.
English. They were always on like fucking Rock Sound, the cover of Rock Sound or whatever.
They were, and they were shit.
Hey man, nice shit. That's
What is that from?
they've got a song called Hey Man, Nice Shot. That's their hit.
Fucking Filter sucks. Welcome back. Sorry if you're listening, Robert Pattinson or whoever the fuck we're talking about who's in Filter.
Jason Patrick is that his name?
That's the
Yeah.
don't care. So, with a difficult typewire act of an ensemble vampire cast in a 1987 Catherine Bigelow movie, we do get enough human emotion, I think, in this movie, which is a big wow for me because I thought it was going to fly the fuck off the rails in terms of character development and investment in anyone, even vaguely human, dead, undead, or living. And I even find the kind of cheese dick sideline dad finding his son storyline really compelling because it adds to what we hope is going to be an explosive climax, and we sort of think he's going to die, or at least the kid's going to die or something. And we get thrown for a loop. That doesn't happen, and we get a big twisty turny climaxy ending that is at least interesting, right?
Yeah, I love we get so many more big like Western set pieces. We get the showdown scene.
Yep.
In like the middle of the town. It's the middle of the night, so it's dark. But like it's the high noon scene. It's fun that he's in a truck and that the truck jackknifes and then explodes, because there's that scene early on where the guy spends 20 minutes explaining how a truck jackknives. And you're like, why are we listening to this?
So good. You think he's just babbling on to ratchet up the tension because he can't build up the courage to bite him, and the trucker's just fucking high as shit on that trucker speed, that Oklahoma trucker speed, and just rambling about air brakes. And then the foreshadowing, wow, is it heavy-handed? But it's great.
Yeah.
And it pays off in that you'd probably cheer in the cinema way that I love.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love like how in the final, in that bit in the finale where he's like running through the prairie, and how it sort of mirrors how he was when he was all smoky, and it's different. And that's, I think that's really cool, and like a really neat way to sort of like bookend the movie, or bookend the chapter of the movie where shit's happening.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love that, and all those Vista-esque shots, they all kind of echo each other. There is a real bookending in terms of just a really zoomed out and thought out view of how the narrative's going to play out from old Jason Bigelow. just good stuff. Jason Biggs, Catherine Bigelow,
Yeah.
whatever.
I love how fucking gnarly Bill Paxton's character Severin gets. Like, I love the sort of roadkill, but still kicking like that guy. I think that's
He is baked roadkill for sure.
yeah. It's cool. It's so cool to be like, well, yeah, obviously he can't die by these conventional getting hit by a semi methods. So
when was the last time you got hit by a semi? Out of interest.
That's for me to know, and you to not know.
Do you do you think he should have walked out of the fire, Terminator style, or is that too much?
That would have been too much, I think. And we are pre T1000 here, obviously by a number of years. That's not till 1991, right?
Yeah, good point.
I tell you what, I really like in the finale, and like your mileage might vary because we want to talk about like how instrumental Caleb is in the taking down of these ancient vampires that have literally been alive since the Civil War. Yeah. But I do love the anticlimactic nature of like Jesse and Diamondback just like not even nearly making it, just like slowly pootling out way short and veering off to the side of the road because they're dead as dicks. Like
just dying in a car.
Yeah. I don't agree with it for the character, but it's fucking cool.
I think you hit the nail on the head. It doesn't have mileage for me because these vampires explode, right? And I always want my biggest, meanest, evilest baddie to go out in the most show-stopping manner, if possible, if appropriate. You know, there's some good silent baddie deaths that fucking ring in your brain for a million years. But they definitely didn't feel that way for me. They were way more blaze of glory as far as I was concerned, and I wanted them to explode. But they exploded in the car. That was fine.
It's weird because like the jackknife truck explodes because the brakes went on or didn't go on or something. And then like, I mean, it is a fuel truck, but like, it's bad form, I think, to be trying to kill someone with a gas truck. Do you know what I mean? Like it seems
that bad form.
I think it seems like it would very easily literally blow up in your face. So like,
oh, okay, I see what you mean. So it's a bad plan.
Yeah, it's a poor call.
Right, yeah. It's definitely fucking high stakes. You know, what are you going to do? Stake him in the heart or drive a fuel truck as fast as you can until it jackknifes and hope that you get out alive? Cool plan, buddy.
Yeah. I love Homer's head on fire. I think that shot is really good. Like
Homer burning is so good.
Yeah.
What the fuck is happening there effects wise, Jamie? Maybe you can shed some light on the subject.
It's what do they call it? It's like an overlay, right? Of just like some fire with I would guess like a little stunt guy.
It's really well. It looks great. That's an effect that doesn't need to look 100% convincingly real for you to be 100% behind it.
Yeah.
It looks so cool. It doesn't, and it does look real to me. I thought it looked amazing, especially as we always say, if you watched it in its old school intended format, not brushed up a million times. Some great fight. We love burning bodies at Final Transmission, and that was some top tier shit.
Yeah, like I find very little that I can actually fault in this movie. It's directed really, really well. It looks beautiful. The performances for the most part are pretty excellent. Even like the ones that are a bit difficult. Like normally a little girl in a movie, a little precocious fucking tween. Like I'm not into that.
I thought you were going to say a little precocious twat. I thought you were going to go there, but you didn't. Sorry, I misjudged you.
I normally just don't like that. It normally irks me. Again, there's a line and they skirt it quite nicely. I think that's the sort of clever thing that's happening here is that they know which parts of the tropes to use, which parts to ignore on both sides, westerns and vampire movies. I love that we don't get any crosses or any fucking holy water. Just all
no mirrors.
Yeah, all the vampires are people who need to drink blood and can't go out during the day, and I'm fine with that.
It seems that they also need to drink a lot of blood a lot of the time.
Yeah.
It's not like one of those all of us feed on a corpse and it lasts us a week type deals. It's I need a bag of dicks a day.
I know you do, Sam. What's your opinion on the movie?
Damn
though?
Right. On the movie. I need two.
So I sort of kind of put this, if I was trying to sell it to someone that wanted to know more about it and, you know, they were cool, I would sell it as like Lost Boys meets Doctor Sleep. Like it's the plot of Lost Boys with the baddies from Doctor Sleep.
I couldn't agree more. And I was going to use the exact same comparison. I was going to say part of the reason that I sort of struggle a little bit with going all on board with this movie is that in that midsection where a lot of the action and a lot of where we are as viewers is either curious about or directly with the vampires, we don't have as much to hang our hats on in terms of who they are and what their motivation is, and just a little bit more depth maybe. I know that obviously Doctor Sleep is based on a long book with a lot of lore and a lot of background, so we have the benefit of that. But we have enemies and antagonists in that movie that have pretty rich backstories, interesting characters, and that they come from an ancient Paxton, you know, an ancient tribe of evil that have this very specific drive and motivation. And in this movie, it feels like some of that modern vampire chaos trumps what I love about vampire movies, which is rich, detailed, exciting, interesting backstory and motivation. So it's tricky.
I think if I was alive for hundreds and hundreds of years, I would be bored of raising hell by my 300th birthday. Do you know what I mean? I would be...
Especially just in fucking driving around in Oklahoma fucking with people. Like, it's not that hellish. It's just kind of generic rascal behavior. That's what, you know, most normal people are doing.
I mean, yeah, but they're not normally slashing their throats and drinking their blood and blowing up their Winnebagos or whatever. Like,
I'll give you that, yes.
So it just seems like you'd be bored by it. You would go to a bar, you would pick someone up, you would take them back to the hotel room, you would eat them, and you would move on to the next town. And you would do that on a loop for every night because that's how much you need to eat. Like,
what do you think you would do, though? How would you stave off the existential boredom of having been alive for hundreds of years?
I'd watch movies.
Yeah, I thought you might. That's why you want to get back to that motel. You want to eat and watch a fucking movie.
Yeah.
You've witnessed the advent of vehicles. You've witnessed television, radio, penicillin, everything. Smallpox vaccine, the works. And you want to watch fucking whatever's on TV that night back at your Oklahoma motel.
I just like, you would be so over it, right? You would just be so bored of like raising hell. Like, surely
I'd be so bored of people. Can you imagine? I'd be the world's first hermit vampire. Fuck these guys. Get me out of here.
Like, he's been hanging out, fucking Lance Henriksen's been hanging out with Severin, with Bill Paxton since what, 1587 or whatever the...
Dude.
1857.
1 hour 34 was too much Bill Paxton in this movie for me, and I love him. Imagine being with him 24/7 for hundreds of years.
Just him yapping at
Chill
you constantly.
out, Bill. Yeah, calm down, buddy. Good grief.
Yeah.
Yeah, tricky shit. So there's an aspect of this that I don't want to read into too much and ruin the movie for myself, but there's a core element. You know when you meet someone and you just think, part of you is missing. You're a nice guy.
Yeah.
I enjoy being around you. But there's a vacant space in there that troubles me. That's how I feel about this movie.
Okay.
This movie is Adam Champion, the kid that I went to school with.
Yeah. It's
Sorry, Adam.
Walter Peck, right? This film has no dick.
That's the part that's missing. Dickless here. Shut off the power. Yes. Have you watched the Frozen Empire Ghostbusters movie?
Yeah, I have.
Peck as mayor? Fuck off. Come on. The guy that unplugs the mainframe and spews all the ghosts out and nearly destroys New York becomes mayor. What?
Like, I think that's fine.
Too realistic.
I think the idea that, like, yeah, that he sort of fails into office is fine. But the idea that he doesn't believe in ghosts now, that's the thing that bugs me. Is
that shit?
Spoilers for Frozen fucking bullshit. But like, he doesn't believe in ghosts. He doesn't think the Ghostbusters are legit people. Like, you saw all that happen. The Titanic.
You saw the ghosts.
The Titanic pulls into the fucking New York Harbor. What are you talking about?
Yeah, some glaring errors there. That's what I mean about inconsistency in character development, people. I don't like that shit.
Exactly. If Harris Yulin's Judge was the mayor from Ghostbusters 2, if he was the mayor, if he like made it up to City Hall after
Yeah.
being a judge, he would believe in ghosts.
He'd A, be 100 years old, B, have done his fucking homework and character acted the shit out of the whole midsection between whenever the last time he's in Ghostbusters is, 2, I assume, and now.
Yeah.
And he'd do a good job of it. Heck needs to fucking do one.
Yeah, peck off.
There we go. Ghostbusters. Back to Near Dark. Again, a lot of connective tissue. Listen, here's some high praise. Modern vampire movies go with vamps in modern settings. This is way up there for me.
Yeah.
I know it's a genre that I don't like, so it's it's not exactly the highest praise in the world, but it's the problem I have is that in my head I'm comparing it to some other movies that I shouldn't be comparing it to, and I need to just let it be. It's a good movie at what it does.
A question for you, Sam. Why do you think that so many vampires in modern settings movies choose like the West, choose like not the West as in like Death of the West, but like the West of America? Like they use sort of Western tropes. Why do you think that is? Is it just because it's so incongruous to the vampire mythos, or is it?
It's a great question. It's the last place you'd fucking go as a vampire, clearly.
Yeah.
Long, huge sunrises, wide open vistas with no shade, no like sparse settlements, sparse population centers. Dumb. Go to New York where you belong. The whole incongruous thing, it feels a little played out to me. In my head, I like the idea that classic Western storylines fit well with vampiric archetypes, should we say. I think it slots together nicely and it gives you lots of room to fuck around and be that cool fucking trilby wearing guy who comes up with those kind of ideas, whatever. But I think they do have a lot of common ground that works well enough.
Yeah.
I don't honestly think it works, to be totally honest. I think Dusk Till Dawn pulls it off pretty much perfectly.
Yeah.
I know you don't love Sex Machine, but
I don't love Sex Machine. What about John Carpenter's vampires? Like that's a similar thing. Like is it just because like you can shoot sand in a certain way to make it look sort of reddish? Is that the vibe? Is it like
it might be that it's cheap.
Yeah? Or is it
Could
that
be.
if you have a gang of like hell-raising vampires, is that similar to, a gang of fucking banditos or whatever from
I mean, unfortunately, yeah, it's probably the sloppy, lazy, or should I say, no, that's unfair. It's the mid-'80s blasted out of your mind on Colombian weapons-grade coke connection that you make while you're scribbling scenes in a trailer of 3 a.m. It makes sense on that level. There's so much more you could do. But to be honest, I have to say, I am a little bit of a stickler for classic gothic vampire stories. And when it explodes out into another place, I respect the swing, and I love that it exists and that people are trying it and experimenting and having fun with it. But it always just makes me think, oh, I'd love it if it was foggy.
Yeah. I mean, there's some good fog in this. There's that one shot where they sort of crest the hill and they're all silhouetted with they're lit in a really nice way from behind. And it is like bonkers to me that isn't the poster or the DVD cover. I think, frankly, I don't know if you've seen the DVD cover from when they tried to capitalize on the success of Twilight, but that does exist and is a crime against fucking Catherine Bigelow.
There's a lot of merit to watching this movie in a high spec format for sure, because it's obviously been beautifully touched up and made magically wonderful by modern technology and looks gorgeous. But like, dude, watch it on a rotten VHS as well and have a blast.
We've said this before about other films, but this is a real film. It's shot on 35mm. It's like the production value is massive. Like it's gorgeous. So like so even like similar to, like we say, James Cameron, when he was making basically exploitation sci-fi movies, but they were also, they had a director that gave a shit and wasn't just like churning shit out like Canon or whatever. No disrespect to Canon. I love Canon films, but
no one's saying this is a trash vampire movie that you'll watch and chuck away. It's not, I'm just going to use this to build my career. It's not that. There's a lot of love and art in this movie. And I do think it comes close to wandering off the track around the mid section.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. And it stays true and it hangs tough. And we all come out happier for a good vampire Western romp at the end.
Yeah, I think so. Should we go to a break and come back and sum up, Sam?
Let's break one off.
Sum up some.
Come on, man, does that thing even work? No. There's nothing out there. It's just dead air.
Okay, Sam, I'm back. Are you back?
I'm back. I sobered up. I'm good to go.
Wonderbar. Where are you good to go? Are you good to go to TikTok or Instagram to follow at FT Horror Show?
Probably both. I'll probably do both straight away, immediately. I'll probably do that, and that makes me cool. So if you do that, you'll be cool too.
Yeah, I think if you were Bill Paxton standing in a bar with the neons reflected in your sunglasses, wearing a white t-shirt and a leather jacket covered in blood, the first thing that you would do is go to wherever you're listening to this on now and rate 5 stars and write a review, because that's what the coolest person in the world would do.
It's the only thing that would make you cooler, is doing that.
Yeah.
I think if you were a gaunt, starved-looking, 100-year-old Lance Henriksen standing in the back of a Winnebago slowly burning to death, you might consider rating and reviewing this podcast on whatever platform you're listening to on the radio.
Absolutely.
Of your Winnebago.
I think you should also, while you're being, as we say, incredibly, incredibly cool, you should also, if you're not subscribed to this, wherever you're listening to it, you should subscribe to it, and you should turn on automatic downloads so then you don't miss an episode. Much like Bill Paxton never misses an episode because he's dead.
God knew before you even said it. I could see it in your eyes. What is wrong with you?
Final Transmission is beamed directly into the afterlife. He doesn't miss a second. He gets them early, if anything.
I like to think he's riding the tilt-a-whirl down at my local fair at least twice a year in spirit. If I was Bill Paxton and I died, which he did, the first thing I would do would be to haunt that fair and ride that ride and scare the shit out of people.
Okay, Sam, here's a sum up from me.
Go on.
Fucking great, isn't it? It's a great movie. It's gorgeous. I love looking at fucking pump jacks on the horizon. Like those fucking oil pumpy pumpersons. Like, it's just great.
Just humping and pumping.
I don't know why, but I see those and I know that I'm watching a movie from the 80s. It's something about the 80s. And when I guess we were stoked about oil in the 80s. Not so much now because of all the wars. And so, like, we would put those in our movies to establish a time and a place of, like, you know, we're in a place that is, you know, pretty poor, but they're drilling for oil. They're pumping out the oil from the ground. They should be rich. It's just a nice, easy, quick way of showing that, you know, there should be wealth here, and there isn't.
Yeah, it's a clever device, and again, it's just given me another amazing band name. Pump Jack Romance coming through town next month.
Nice.
Make sure you keep an eye out for them. There is a romanticism about that skyline of pump jacks at this time, right? It's not new, but it's being kind of used, like you say, in a new way.
Yeah,
It's cleverly placed.
yeah, and especially in like a Western setting, because it's like you can show your like prairie vista, fucking Monument Valley, but you slap a pump jack on it, and you know that we're in the 20th century.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a time capsule device.
Yeah. So, but everything is cool in this movie. There are, like I say, there's some shaky stuff at the beginning with Bill Paxton's performance, but he comes round. I do think that he is quite cool. I don't know if I'd ever be scared of him in the context of a movie. If I was in a bar with him, it'd be fucking terrifying. But
because he's dead.
yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, he's dead in this movie, so you know that counts too. But like, I just think I don't find him. I find him too goofy. This movie's really good, Sam. I think like it feels like a mainstream movie because it's made like a mainstream movie, but it doesn't have. I don't know what happened along the way to make it not land in the mainstream way that it was supposed to. I guess the studio went bust, or the studio like didn't throw the marketing dollars behind it, or whatever. But like in the grand scheme of things, a lot of people know about this movie. But in like the mainstream, this is an absolute hidden gem. And there are all these people from all of your favorite movies, and they're all in one place doing fucking vampire cowboy shit. Like, it's insane that like not everybody in the world has seen this movie. It feels like they should, and they might not like it as much as I do, but they should at least get to see it.
Yeah, it's one of those movies that so when I fall in love with an actor like, let's say, Lance Henriksen, and I go back and I watch a load of early career stuff, sometimes there's some absolute howlers, like unwatchable shite in there. You'll get a guy like Lance Henriksen trying to be the leading man in a rom-com from 1969, and it's absolute puke. But then you'll stumble across something like this, and it makes it all worthwhile because it's buried a little bit in his catalog, but it's well worth a watch.
Yeah. The world might have come around a little bit, but the idea that, like, say, that you hadn't seen it or heard of it says that there are people out there that are interested in movies and interested in these kind of movies with these kind of actors specifically that need to see it, that need to be made aware that this is a movie that is for them.
And that's why we're here.
And that's we're doing Todd's work, to call back to Xander Berkeley earlier, which is
we sure are
probably been edited out. So that's weird, isn't it?
perfect. What are you rating this fucking vampire knob schlock?
I'm giving this 11 jingly little spurs out of 13.
That's some top billing shit. Have you ever seen a man slash a person's throat with their spurs before this movie or since?
I want to say yeah, but I can't place it.
Feels like a thing.
Yeah.
Feels like something that people should be doing all the time.
I might be getting it mixed up with, like, there's a bunch of times where you see like a sneaky knife in the shoe, and you get a little shoe knife action.
The old boot knife. Yeah. Sharpening your spurs and chopping someone's throat with them is wowie. That's not how you're supposed to use them.
Is it not?
Well, it's how he used them. Well, okay, that's a high rating.
It's a great movie. Like I say, there's very little to find wrong here. Like, it does start off a little bit slow, but it's deliberate and it's nice, and it means that there's room.
I love that.
Yeah, there's room for this sort of romance that I don't necessarily buy into, but there's room for that to exist before we get taken to a weird place.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like nothingy set dressing. It doesn't feel like, oh, fucking, we have to have some sort of bullshit romance at the start here so that we can surprise people, boo, they're vampires. It feels really well intentioned and deliberate, and I've got a lot of respect for that.
Yeah. Well, I know that, like, obviously from Dusk Till Dawn, spoiler alert, we get like halfway through the movie and it switches gear into a vampire movie. And like, that's cool. And I like the idea of that, but you couldn't do that now.
Because it's been done.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the marketing would fucking kill it. And everyone would be talking about it, and there'd be a million fucking Reddit threads or whatever. But
the trailer would be the whole movie.
Yeah, the trailer would start from the moment where it's like record scratch, everyone's a fucking werewolf now or whatever. But like, we're in the future and we know that they're all vampires. But like, there is a moment where you don't really know what's going on, and like, he's just, kind of fucked. I don't think there's any massive subtext here. I think we're talking about rebellion and how, like, when you try to be a rebel, eventually you have to grow up and become normal, or you die in a giant fireball. Like, that's the
fucking hell. Okay,
that's the alternative. So
I'm gonna get my shit together.
But even when you grow out of being a rebel, your past can still come back to haunt you. Like, yeah, I don't think there's much more it's trying to say than that, but I think that's pretty cool, and that's enough for me. So yeah, 11 out of 13 Spurs.
Nice.
Jingle jangling.
I'm going to use a direct quote from you 3 seconds ago, presuming you haven't edited it out, and say, I think this movie is pretty cool, and that's good enough for me. But I have to rate it. I have to pump the brakes a little bit because, like I said, it is a little bit like the creepy kid in your year 6 class who has a huge part of his soul missing. I do like it. I do think it's really fun. It's got so much to take away. Like, you do walk away from this movie thinking about the visuals a lot. It does some stuff in a novel, creative, and new way that I think is really interesting, especially for such a tired idea. Now, obviously, at the time, not so much. So I'm going to give it 6.8 Andy Milonakis kids out of 10, which I know probably feels a little low, a little mean, but it doesn't have that Jamie's Friday Night Boner vibe for me as much as it does for you, obviously. So
it got your dick like pootling.
Much like you earlier, I'd probably hit you with the semi. I think it's exactly what you said. It's pretty cool and good enough, and it certainly gets a lot of jobs done for me. It's definitely something that I would like to have seen a bit more in terms of vampirism. I know that you've just gone through a long list of things that don't happen in this movie that are classically vampiric, but I would like a little bit more of that, just because I'm a vampire dweeb.
Yeah.
So give me the sequel where they set this entire sequel at medieval times, and I'm laughing. Vampires take over medieval times. Count me in.
You mean like the restaurant, or you mean the actual
Yes.
era? Okay.
No, the actual restaurant. Yeah.
Okay.
I want to see them in a California medieval times, so that we have everything I like about vampire movies, but we can still be modern. We can still have milkshakes and hand jobs or whatever.
Yeah, Milkshakes and Handjobs. That's the new Sam Russo album coming out soon to redscare.net.
Redscare.net, people, pre-order. So yeah, I got nothing more to say about it. I had a blast watching it. I really enjoyed the pacing felt perfect for me. Good Saturday night movie all round. Enjoy yourself some Oklahoma Panhandle vampires, chums, because this is one that you won't want to miss.
I agree with all of that, but I liked it more than you.
Yes, as usual.
Okay, well, we'll see you next time. We won't see you, but you'll hear us on Final Transmission podcast.
Maybe imagine if we could see them.
Wouldn't it be so?
We can see you, kids.
Wouldn't it be so weird if every time someone listened to the podcast, we could just see them through the window?
We could look through their phone. Because that's not happening at all. Definitely not happening.
No, we haven't struck on some sort of 976 evil like deal with that one guy that was meant to be the devil.
That would be wrong, and we would never do that.
We wouldn't.